broadcast are those of the program host and guest and not WSTU. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest-running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum. Get interested, get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
You are listening to WSTU 1450 Treasure Coast Forum. I'm Amira Meehan, and I'm here with Mr. Frank Metzapelli.
That's right. You said that you were going to do the AO. Yeah. Every time you do it, it's like new to me again.
Yeah, it's just I want the younger audience, and then I also want the older audience to feel younger.
Get them kind of hipped up.
Yeah.
To the
okay. That we don't say hipped up anymore.
Hip? No, it's not hip.
I found out hip was not hip. I think 2 weeks ago. I saw his birthday party, and they're like, "How do you not know who this guy is?" And I'm like, "I'm not hip." And they go, "Oh my God, Amira, hip is not hip."
So what is hip if it's not?
You
hip?
don't say hip. You just
It's
say
out.
like
Hip is out.
Yeah, hip is out. You just
okay.
say that you're just stupid. You're old. You're stupid or you're not. That's
Well, I
pretty
guess
much
I
it.
checked those boxes. Okay. All right. So you were out on assignment last week. You couldn't make the show. We had to bring in a national public attorney into the studio last week to cover for you, and it worked.
Oh, cool. Who was it?
Richard Kibbe is a noted attorney here in town and a good guy, baseball fan, also from Detroit. So worked out well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, good guy. And so we had a chance to kind of chat it up. But our listening audience missed you, and so they want to know, what did you do last week?
So Thursday I had to do IB showcase. That's not too important. I don't think any of you guys have like kids going to South Fork High School. But anyway, so Friday I went to Miami and did the Model UN conference. We're the first Martin County school ever in history to go
Nice.
to a Model UN conference in Miami.
And this is your baby. This whole
Yeah. It was my baby.
You had envisioned this program. This program didn't exist before Amira got involved, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Also, shout out to Mr. Dino Hyde.
Okay.
Couldn't have done it without him.
Okay, Mr. Dino. Nice.
Yeah.
I like the name.
I know, he's Italian. Yeah.
There it is.
Yep.
Okay. So, all right. So, tell us what it was like over there.
It was really fun. I was 100% the best person there.
Of course.
Except, what shocked me, though, is that when I went, what didn't shock me was the snobbery, because everyone else was a private school kid, and the thing is, the university, we were in a public school, and I remember walking in, there was one kid who was like, "This is a public school? Ew!"
Oh.
It's so funny.
Right.
Anyway, they didn't know we were public school kids. We didn't say, you just go around and preach, but,
Right. Right.
Well, anyway, I wasn't surprised about that. But what I was surprised is that no one actually knew anything about the country. They just yapped about, "Oh no, censorship is bad. Everyone has freedom of speech because everyone speaks."
Everyone
Speaks.
Wow. This is profound.
So this is, I know, they're exactly like the real UN. They do nothing. It's
Right.
amazing.
Right.
It literally is the perfect replication of the real UN.
Okay.
Anyway, nobody knew anything about the country. I was the only one. Me and my partner, Anna, we were the only people who knew anything about our country. Ours was Belgium. We knew Belgium court cases. Like, that's how much we knew.
Right.
And then no one else knew anything. So, obviously, we spoke a lot. We were, like, the best speakers and the best research. We were going to win. So, when you're in Model UN, there's a thing where you make resolutions to solve, like, some sort of problems. You team up with other countries and you write up a resolution, right?
Yep.
So we befriended Norway like crazy.
Oh, sure.
These two guys are, like, really, really nice, and we, like, hung out. This little guy, the way he spoke, he didn't speak anything about Norway, but the way he spoke, he was very philosophical, and he sounded like Martin Luther King Jr. He looked like a little baby Martin Luther King Jr., and we love this kid.
Yeah.
Okay, this Norway boy. And so we made a resolution, and so there's a part where when you present the resolution, you send up 2 or 3 representatives to do a Q&A. So people ask, "Hey, this is stupid. What are you going to do about it?" I was usually the person who asked the questions because there was another resolution. Israel their country, these kids, oh my God, so annoying. Like, they look like they were selling a car every time they spoke.
Oh my God.
You can imagine that they'd run around the room and they'd be pointing at people and they'd be like slapping their books. It was, anyway, we hated them. But they had this idea of
They
protecting.
didn't have the decorum.
No, not just that, but
Right.
they had this idea in the resolution to protect journalists by building safe havens or safe strongholds in a war zone. So journalists, every journalist can
Right.
go in one area so that if they were going to be attacked, they would all die all at once.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, great. They thought this was a good idea. I told them 50 reasons why it wasn't. Then they decided to invent an app for journalists to feel safe in a war zone to use. Yeah, when I'm in a war zone and I'm running and people are shooting at me, I need to pull out my phone and make sure the internet's working so I can use this app. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, our resolution was pretty good. Ours wasn't stupid. We didn't
Okay,
have any
good.
apps or strongholds or anything.
Right. So your
And-
resolution was.
Our resolution included a lot of things because we joined with other countries and stuff, but
Mhm.
Belgium specifically working for Belgium because screw everyone else.
Okay.
That's what you're supposed to do. It's
Okay.
politics, right?
Okay.
We just I got Cuba on board somehow because I worded things
Mm.
to the point where Cuba could kind of misinterpret it and make it work for corruption. So
Okay.
I worded it in a vague way so that Belgium can get their democracy and Cuba can get their craziness, which is
Interesting.
very nice.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, we were like fighting media. We wanted media pluralism, not just in diversity in outlets, but also ownership, because there's literally like 2 or 3 people in Belgium who own every single freaking outlet.
Mm.
Like you'll have the French, because there's French Walloons, and then there's the Dutch Flanders in Belgium, and they both, these 2 regions, they both have their own news stuff,
Right.
and literally there's one guy. One Dutch guy owns all the Dutch. One Dutch guy, actually, I think he owned one of the French magazines too. And then like 2, 3 French guys own all the French stuff. So we were like, let's fight this.
Right.
So we're like, we should demonetize the press so that every journalist can be just every average Joe and all that stuff. But I worded it in a way where like Cuba would be like, let's demonetize the press. Perfect. We take it away from the private sector and we can make it all about the government controlling the press.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's why Cuba loved me.
Ah.
Yeah, I told them that.
There was a
I was like,
method
you
to
can
your
do
madness.
this. Yes. So Cuba loved me. So we got Cuba to support us,
Nice.
which is pretty cool. But anyway, so during this Q&A panel about our resolution, the advisor came up to me, the supervisor, the chair, went up. He's like, Amira, I want to see you on this thing. Hey, that was big. He never went up to anyone else.
This is an adult.
Yeah, there's an
Oh,
adult. He's
okay.
the chair. He's
All right.
like, he oversees the whole thing. He's
I
the one who's the
I
boss.
wanted to visualize.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like the Speaker of the House, but for Model UN.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm like, okay. But the thing is, all the other countries, they all called dibs already, and they weren't letting me on the Q&A panel.
Oh.
So I went up to the kid I trusted, Norway boy, he's experienced. He's been to these conferences all the time. And I went up to him,
Right.
I'm like, I need to get on the Q&A panel. And he's like, there's already a few countries on there. I'm like, no. You see, the guy told me I need to get on there. So gears turned in his head, and he's like, okay, I'll help you. That's what he said.
Mhm.
Then when he told me later I couldn't do it, Amir, I'm sorry. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I sit back down. I see him take my place. Oh. And then,
A little backstabbing.
yeah, I know. It was
All right.
bad.
All
I
right.
trusted him too.
Yeah.
And then after, during the award ceremony, he won.
Okay.
And I went up to the chair and I'm like, what could we do to improve next year? And he goes, you don't need to improve. You just had to be on that Q&A panel I told you to go on. And I'm like, but they wouldn't let me. He's like, I know. The chairperson looked like he was about to cry. So Norway boy knew, and he took advantage of me being a first timer. Because I didn't tell anyone else. I told him like the second day because we were friends already.
Mm.
And so he took advantage of my naivety.
Aw.
All I have to say to him is et tu brute and a lot of other things that I'm not allowed to say.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
on radio.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I-
probably even in adult life, it's good to kind of have that
It was
internal
bad. It was
edit
the
button.
first time something like that's happened to me.
Mhm.
I remember I cried for like 3 hours.
Aw.
It was so bad.
Aw.
I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do politics.
Politics is a tough business. Sharp elbows.
Everyone's so
right?
mean.
Right? I call it sharp elbows.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah,
You know what
I feel Mr. Smith, and Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Feel exactly like him.
Now, I asked you months ago to watch the movie Dave.
I didn't see it yet.
See that?
I have spring break. I'll watch that and
Yeah.
Casablanca.
Dave,
try.
you're going to love that movie because it'll kind of soften the blow for you.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you. I know I'm gonna cry like crazy. When I watch
Aw.
Casablanca. Anyway,
Anyways,
I'm
all
a
right.
sensitive person.
Yes, of course, and rightfully so. So you are obviously watching the news for what's going on nationally, globally.
Yeah.
Nationally, we
Supreme Court, I think, ruled that Trump can be on the ballot.
correct.
Yep, that was great.
Yep, and then there was Super Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Trump
Landslide.
got a major portion of all the delegates available. He didn't get all of the ones he needed to lock up the nomination, but I guess that'll happen likely a week from next, when the next Tuesday.
Who do you think is going to be vice president?
Well, that's a good question. There's a bunch of names have been floating around, and Tulsi Gabbard seems to be the big pick for most folks. Who do you think?
I know in my class, especially Vivek Ramaswamy is pretty popular.
Right, but he's a strong. So here's my take on it. This Vivek is a very strong personality, like Trump is a strong personality. I don't think VP should be a strong character like the president.
Oh yeah.
You follow me?
Clash.
I'm
The
afraid.
VP should be submissive.
Yeah. Yes. Should be the VP should be able to take the marching orders from the president and then carry those. That's the presidential agenda,
Yeah.
not your agenda. Vivek may be able to do that, humble himself, do just that, or but that's a pretty tall order. I could see somebody else, willing to do that. Not such, well, that's why Mike Pence was such a good VP for Trump. He's more staid, more
Quiet.
quiet. So, but anyways, that's my take. And you're thinking what?
I think he's a good debater. I think he's great, but
Mhm.
I think he should just wait till Trump's done and he could just run again.
My guess is that Trump would find a cabinet post for him instead of VP. He would make, a very good in any cabinet position, But I could see him being posted that way and do very well. I like Tim Scott. I think Tim Scott would be a good VP pick. And there's a possibility that a lot of people have actually said Nikki Haley would be a good VP pick because the Never Trumper voters would maybe pick Trump because she's on the ticket,
Yeah.
and she would bring them into the fold, and that's huge.
And just because she becomes VP doesn't mean we're going to automatically send troops to the border.
Correct. But what it does mean is, what any good politician would try to do is try to coalesce the party and keep it from being fractionalized. So anything you can do to bring more people under the big tent is a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you do. All right. Where are we at on time? We got 10 minutes before break. So Biden says he is willing to, and I guess he'll, during the State of the Union tonight, he will direct U.S. military to create Gaza ports to deliver aid. So what are your thoughts on that?
We talked about
Well,
this
we did
before
talk
air.
about it, but our listeners didn't know.
So, of course, he's going to build this port hoping that ships that are getting bombed won't get bombed. But then again, they'll just bomb the port. I think it's just a stunt to make people just think that something's being done.
Right, because currently they're stealing the aid trucks because they have trucks that are rolling into the Gaza with supplies and aid
Mhm.
for the civilians. Nobody wants to see them hurt. Now, Hamas can make it all stop today, if they want. They just have to say, they'd surrender,
Mhm.
move into an area where the civilians aren't.
Yeah.
And then the civilians wouldn't get hurt. But they're deliberately using the civilians as
Human shield.
human shields. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, putting, storing rockets inside of hospitals, not a good look.
No.
Yeah. Just saying. So,
And then
There's that.
blaming it on Israel.
correct. Yeah. So,
Is that a caller?
yeah. It is a caller on my phone.
Not a caller on the radio?
Not on the radio. Sorry. Anyways, anyways, it's all good. Let's see now. A 70 million year old dinosaur skeleton was found connected from skull to tail. Well, that's unusual. Most dinosaurs
Mhm.
that are in museums are actually a compilation of many finds.
Mhm.
And then they say, well, okay, here's a
Put it
rib.
together.
Here's a rib that probably would, fit here, and it's, oops, here we go.
We do have a caller.
All right, we got a caller on our newsmaker line. Go ahead, caller.
Well, I figured the young lady threw up the bat signal, so I thought I'd call.
Okay, the bat signal on the bat phone.
But, yeah, right. So, Frank, you probably heard this. Maybe the young lady, because she's a brainiac, heard this. As opposed to shooting down drones with another drone,
Yeah.
we started using energy pulses high energy or something.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
kind of like lasers.
To knock
Mhm.
them out of the sky.
Yeah.
Like pennies on the dollar to do it that way.
Correct. Yes.
Could you explain that to the listening public?
Oh, well, I can try, but I
I
think you
think
just
what
did.
they do is
Yeah.
they just tap into a frequency that kind of neutralizes the mechanisms within the drone.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like have you ever seen like
But there's a
movies
laser
where there's like an earthquake or something, or maybe a meteor hits and there's like a whole
Like a wave.
like a wave
Mm-hmm.
of like wind that pushes people back, kind of
Mhm.
like that, except
Mm-hmm. A shockwave.
in electric terms.
Okay. Electronic
Oh,
shockwave.
okay.
Kind of like they just find a wave that's strong enough to kind of switch it off. Pretty much in basic terms, probably. That's
Well,
what
that's what they're doing. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing. That's so smart,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Did you
Yeah.
have anything to do with it? Yeah. Do you have anything to do with it?
I think they just turn off the Wi-Fi.
Probably.
No, but she just understands the technology. Yeah. How cool is
You
that?
don't? Mhm.
Very good.
Yeah. Good, good. All right, well, I'll get off. And I love the fact that you were a public school student, you and your buddies. And that guy that stole your idea or got onto the thing,
Right.
he was backstab.
Yeah.
That's what we call it.
Yes.
Backstab.
Right.
Not sharp elbow.
Well,
Backstabber, right, Frank?
yes. Yes. That's probably a more accurate term. Yes. Yeah.
But the flattering
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
about it is that he did what he did because he was intimidated by me.
Yeah.
He knew that if he didn't do what he did,
But then
I would have
he
won and he
won.
would have lost.
He won. He
Yeah.
won. You would have won.
Yeah.
Probably would have won. I know you would have won.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's always
well,
next year,
that's
right?
it.
All right.
Right. Okay.
Thanks,
Very
buddy.
good.
Thanks for the call.
See you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Next year, I'm planning on making a Martin County Model UN, and I'll be chairing, so I can give myself the award for just being alive and doing stuff. But yeah, I could do a Martin County one where like Jensen Beach and Martin come in and backstabbing won't be allowed.
There you go. Nice. Okay. Let's see now. What else we got going on in the world? There's
There's of course, the Sudan isn't getting any better. There's
Sudan-
there's
Sudan?
a whole food problem. Yeah, there's a whole. I think out of like 10 people, 9 people that don't have access to food now.
Mm.
It's a huge crisis. A lot of people it's crazy how the news works. Everyone just talked about the Sudan or Sudan, I don't know how to pronounce it, but for like a week, and then as soon as the week passed, we just moved on to the next crisis. And then we completely forgot because the crisis hasn't gotten better. It's just people just forgot it. Everyone, I don't know. What's weird though is I feel like the Israel-Palestine thing has been going on way more than any other crisis we talked about. And I feel like that's only because there's so many more Jews here.
No, I think it's reprehensible for any clear-minded person that a peaceful country like Israel was at peace.
Yeah.
It wasn't fighting anybody. It wasn't doing anything. And it was like, I think a Sunday morning, there was like there was a picnic going on. People were just going about.
And then terrorists come in.
Terrorists came in by parachute, and and they just did all manner of just awful things to people by the thousands. And nobody talks about that, but they talk about the fact that Israel is defending itself and its citizens. And that seems to be, some people are taking issue with it. It's like,
it's so stupid.
Duh.
I know. And then again, I hate when people say Israel-Palestine.
Right.
When it's really Israel-Hamas.
Correct.
And everyone's like, oh, but Israel occupies Palestine. I'm like, oh my goodness. You saw the Oxford thing, right? When Ben Shapiro visited Oxford and all those kids were there.
Right.
And one kid's like, oh, Mr. Shapiro, it's an absolute displeasure to meet you. And everyone clapped.
Right.
Oh my goodness. And then every single kid went on for a whole yapping tangent about how Israel occupies Palestine and then Palestine has the right to take their land back, even though it's not even between Palestine and Israel, it's between Israel and Hamas, and then Israel does not occupy any of Palestine.
Right.
Like, it's that simple.
So
I
that
think Palestine said Israel does not occupy Palestine.
correct. So what had happened was that Gaza Strip, that was Israeli territory that was won in battle. There was a war. Syria lost. I think Syria, Egypt, and Israel were all duking it out. Israel won. They lost. They got the Gaza Strip, and they needed that. They felt like they needed a buffer, and they won it in the war. Okay, all's fair. And so the Palestinians, said, well, we need a place and we need a place to call home.
There's a difference between getting something with war and getting something with terrorism. It's a
Correct.
huge difference.
Right. And so as a peace gesture, the Israeli government, as I understand it, ceded that territory over to and helped to create that territory of Palestine. But Palestine was ceded to the Palestinians by Israel. It was Israeli land that was won in war, and people seem to have forgotten that.
Yeah.
They kind of look past that, and I think those are sanguine points that you have to remember. How did we get here? Well, they weren't happy with how the war worked out. Too bad.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
And Israel never attacked anybody. They attacked Israel. And Israel fought back, acquired that territory, says, okay, that's part of Israel now, And then they, as a peace gesture, gave it back, and with the notion that would give them, they would still have, some oversight, but they stayed away from them, because the Palestinian people built a wall, they did all kinds of stuff, whatever, but they got all kinds of UN aid and money instead of helping to feed and take care of the population of Palestine. They built tunnels with the lights and air conditioning, as you do, to make it a war with Israel more effective for the Palestinian or the Hamas Palestinians. So, a lot of misspent money on their part. They could have just lived comfortably as neighbors, but they decided they didn't want to. So, I don't
Still
know.
crazy.
Yeah, it is mind-bendingly difficult to wrap your head around. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is.
I don't know why we're never gonna grow out of atrocities. Like, when are we gonna grow out of that? I still remember, like, I'm writing my extended essay on the Tokyo trials,
Mhm.
and how specifically the case against Hideki Tojo, who was the prime minister at the time
Right.
of Japan.
Mhm.
How his case, the tribunal that the United States and like the Allies set up to condemn the Japanese during the Tokyo trials for their war crimes, was made for political agenda for the Cold War, instead of actually just giving them due process.
Mhm.
Because I mean, if you think about it, yeah, they performed a lot of atrocities, but like, again, with the tribunal, we don't have the authority to just condemn them, condemn them, and
Right.
like,
Right. It has to be a kind of a
yeah, and speaking for the
a
world.
global.
And they call it like an international tribunal, but
Mhm.
then at the same time, MacArthur's like, let's do a appeals thing where like every single defendant can do an appeal to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's like, we're not going to do that because it's international. But then the fact that the Supreme Court has a say
Mhm.
and whether they can do appeals or not shows that it's the American court and not actually an international one. So
Interesting.
it's pretty wild. And then another one is that so many of the people who got life sentences and big sentences, all these Japanese guys,
Mhm.
literally in the 50s, they all got paroled.
Yeah.
All of them got paroled. And I'm like, what happened to, like, you said you were like adamant about, oh, Pearl Harbor was bad and they did all these atrocities, due process, justice, and then you parole all of them. Because then they put them in special foreign minister type of positions because they were like, we'll go against communism for you, America.
Right.
And so they're like, perfect. And there was like these guys who didn't even have to go through the trial, even though they were just as guilty as anyone else. They were doing biological warfare. They're probably worse. Like their whole job description is atrocity.
Mm.
Right? They would just experiment on humans and do stuff. And there's a guy named Ishii and other guys. And then the USA didn't even put them on trial because they're like, okay, after the tribunal, we'll like send a bunch of scientists and we'll all like meet and we'll like all sleep over and then we could share notes.
Do a sleepover.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
All right. We got to go. We're going to take our regulation time out, but we'll be right back. And we're going to learn more about the dastardly Japanese atrocities. Okay. When we return, stick with us.
Got to make the morning last just.
All right, we're going to be Feeling Groovy. That's the 59th Street Bridge song by Harper's Bazaar. All right, Feeling Groovy.
Hippie stuff.
Yeah, hippie stuff, yes. That's if you were a child of the 60s, what the heck,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I think the only hippie song I really like, like a couple of Beach Boys songs,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
like only a couple. And
Yeah.
then I kind of like, what was that song called? Was it Georgie Girl?
Yes.
I like that song.
Hey there, Georgie girl.
Yeah, I like
sure.
that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. On this date, Amira, in 1876. Oh, by the way, today is March the 7th.
Mhm.
It's also my sister Diane's birthday. Happy birthday, Diane, if
Happy
you're out there.
birthday.
Yes. And Alexander Graham Bell receives a patent for the telephone on this date in 1876.
Nice.
Right? And coincidentally, a few years later in 1926, the first successful transatlantic radio telephone conversation took place between New York City and London.
Was that planned? That
Yes.
they would do it the day Alexander Graham Bell
I
got
don't
the patent?
know, but
Because
how,
that sounds planned.
how cool is that?
Yeah.
Maybe they had it ready to go and, well, there you go.
Yeah.
50 years later, let's give it a
Or
go.
was it a coincidence?
Could have been a coinkadink. We don't know.
Coinkadink?
Coinkadink, yes.
Who else has said that? Or is
Oh.
that just your thing?
No, that's not my thing. I'm sure I've heard it somewhere else.
I've never heard coinkadink in my life. I
Well,
love
now
it.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, you can use it. It's not mine. All right. In 1897, on this date, in Battle Creek, Michigan, Dr. John Kellogg, does the name sound familiar? Kellogg?
Yeah. Seriously.
Serves the world's first cornflakes to his patients in hopes that a better food diet would help cure some of their ailments.
Oh no, those
Cornflakes.
cereals do not. They're
Well, that was.
the reason I can't fit in any of my dresses. Is the
Aw.
cereals I found out.
Uh,
It's Honey Bunches though.
Honey Bunches
I
of
love
Oats.
it so much.
All right. And let's see now. In 1933, on this date, businessman Charles Darrow of Atlantic City, New Jersey, trademarks the board game Monopoly.
Ooh.
Took place on this date in 1933. 1945, on this date, U.S. troops crossed the Rhine River in Ragaman, establishing the first Allied beachhead in Germany during World War II. So
Actually, it's kind of ironic that Monopoly was invented during the Great Depression.
it is.
Yeah.
irony. I that thought didn't go past me. Exactly right. And in 1965, on the state, police attacked peaceful civil rights demonstrators trying to march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. Again, all that happened on March 7th. And this happened in 1965. So, yeah, very good. So that was this day in history. Yes.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. So you were saying about Japan, World War II.
Oh yeah. Speaking of coinkadink, something
Yes.
that wasn't a coinkadink that
Mhm.
happened during the Tokyo trials,
Yes.
which so again it supports the argument that possibly the tribunal was made for propaganda and for like revenge and being politically charged instead of just focusing on due process.
Mm-hmm.
They condemned a couple dudes to death the first anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack.
Ah.
They decided to do it that day,
Okay.
just because completely neutral.
December 7th.
Yeah, and then of course they televised that. They don't televise anything else. I think there were a couple of things that are televised. So the Hideki Tojo's defense was televised. It was like 10 minutes long. There was like a 2-minute video. I can't believe it exists. It's pure comedy. So there was this one guy who speculated. It's suspected that he pretended to have a mental illness to get away with it, but maybe he did. Who knows? But there was this one guy who was like acting out, pretending to have mental illness so he could get out of the tribunal, which he did successfully. There was like a video, it was caught on a tape where he was like right behind Hideki Tojo, and he literally just slaps him in the head. Because Hideki Tojo's a bald head, so he just slaps his little bald head. And then it's literally 2 minutes of the news person just talking about him slapping the bald head and how they put him in a non-slappable distance. and all that stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely useless. Has nothing to do with due process. It's just that's what they televise. So it's great that they televise the more useless stuff. And then when I was watching Hideki Tojo defense, it's very hard because like different language barriers with the translators and stuff. Even with the translators, it's like really difficult. And like, how do I know the translator's actually saying what he's saying? Because Hideki Tojo wouldn't know. And it's not like you have Google nowadays where you can immediately spot that, hey, this guy's not doing the right thing.
Right.
Yeah, so we have no idea. And then every single defendant
Do they have a?
Yeah.
Do they actually have an actual recording of?
they do of Tojo's defense. It's like 10 minutes.
Right.
It's hard to follow. And then the transcript is in Russian for some reason. So I couldn't actually look at the subtitles or anything. But
Hmm.
then every defendant had one Japanese lawyer and one American lawyer. So to create chaos with the law firm because they don't speak the same language. And obviously the Americans want it to go one way and then the Japanese want it to go another way. So that's great. That was MacArthur's idea to do
Oh,
that.
All right.
To have one American lawyer and one Japanese lawyer. I think they were like trying to find a way for the balance, but
Mm.
I feel like that did the exact opposite. Because it would be like communication barriers. I suspect that it would be a little difficult.
So you suspect that the defense attorneys, or these are the defense attorneys you're talking about?
Yeah.
Right? Should have just been Japanese defense attorneys?
I think they should have just been randomized, but I have a feeling if you're defending a Japanese person, you should at least speak Japanese. It could be an American who speaks Japanese. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like a Japanese person and an American person. Just get random lawyers who want to do it, like from anywhere.
Right. So,
Because there were like 11 countries in the tribunal. Get an Indian guy. There was an Indian guy there. Actually, the Indian judge was the only judge that wrote a huge dissent. Like he was like, every single person should be acquitted because the tribunal does not have the right to have authority in this type of global scale, right? So, to get an Indian guy, get a Norwegian guy. Norway was in this for some reason. Wait, no, maybe not Norway. I think it was like the Netherlands. No, Netherlands is. Why were they interested? I have no idea, but they were there. The
Right.
Soviets were there, so I think they should have just went around and was like, if you speak Japanese, go ahead.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but it had to be an American lawyer, right?
Yeah.
An American and a
Well,
Japanese.
we won the war, so we get to
Yeah.
name the term.
I get it, but that's like Victor's justice. You're supposed to be completely neutral at this point. It's not about who won a war. It's about these guys did a crime. Are they guilty or not? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. That's what it should have been.
Okay.
Nuremberg was also a little sketchy.
Really?
The process. Those Nazis deserved it.
Right.
What I'm saying is that the proceedings were a little sketchy.
So.
I haven't gone too in depth with that, but because I've been looking at Tokyo trials mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But they're often compared because they're the same level of sketch. But at the same time, though, the Nazis deserved it.
Okay.
They had no war with the Jews, whereas with whatchamacall, the Japanese, they were at least at war, like an official war.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, though, you could argue that they did like the rape of Nanking and all that, where they did a lot of crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when in China during the Sino-Japanese War, that was kind of messed up, kind of borderline terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Those are individual soldiers doing crazy stuff.
Right.
But instead, they're only trying like 25 leaders and saying that you're responsible.
Right. The leaders.
Which, yeah.
They don't generally try the troops because the troops just follow direction
At the same
from.
time, some of these leaders
the
weren't
scrum.
even there.
Yeah.
Like Hideki Tojo, the prime minister, what would he be doing in the battlefield? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
if you're going to condemn someone for doing a crime, I think you should condemn the person who actually did it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because as far as like a bunch of people, and then another
I don't know.
sketchy thing,
Yeah.
all of this, everything Japan did was in the name of the emperor.
Well,
Right.
of course. Yes.
Emperor is the only one who wasn't like only big figurehead in politics that was not tried or even questioned.
Right.
And like the Americans made sure, like they would literally the prosecution or the defense, they would literally force the defendants to literally state in their testimonies that the emperor is innocent. The emperor is completely ignorant of all of these crimes and all that stuff because the Americans knew that the emperor was anti-communist, and if the emperor stayed on the throne, communism would never come. So the Hirohito, the emperor, was never tried.
Right.
Even though, at the end of the day, if you're going to say that
Well,
the prime minister,
Hirohito
yeah,
actually
Hirohito,
he gave the go-ahead for
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor to commit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're going to say that the prime minister is guilty, Hirohito is just as guilty as the prime minister because the prime minister is a very loyal guy. I read about him. He's like, he had no sense of humor, Hideki Tojo. He was like one of those guys who's like, I do everything for the emperor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the emperor should be the biggest guy. He should be the guy you're going after if you're going to do this.
All right.
But they didn't go after him.
No.
At all.
Okay. More to cover when we come back. We're going to take our last time out. You want to toss it to Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Take it away, Rocky and Bullwinkle.
And now,
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
again,
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
The 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act significantly changed federal individual income and estate tax policies, though some were temporary. In 2018, the legislation increased the estate tax exemption amount from $5.49 million to $11.18 million. This increase expires at the end of 2025. The exclusion amount would revert in 2026 to $6.98 million per deceased person. Researchers with USDA's Economic Research Service estimates that the expiring increased exemption would be $13.95 million per person at the time of expiration. Lowering the estate tax exemption level in 2026 could increase the percentage of farm operator estate tax from 0.3 to 1. Large farms would experience the largest increase in the share of estates that owe an estate tax, increasing from 2.8 to 7.3%. Thanks to Big Robertson Focus on these segments.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jupiter, and Indiantown, Martin County's Heritage Station.
Kicking it up a notch. You like that?
I know elementary school. I'm very boring now. I like old jazz. Very old.
All right.
Sometimes
like
classes.
Bobby Darin? You like-
Yeah, Bobby Darin. He's actually a little fast for me sometimes.
Wow.
He's good though. I probably again you know I listen to Ruby Valley as you can imagine.
Right? Oh, yeah. Well, I like Rudy Valley. I
Yeah.
was a kid growing up. I enjoyed listening to Rudy Valley, too.
Nice.
Yeah. It's yet another thing we have in common. So, we're going to talk about technology before we go to the end of the show. So, what's going on in technology?
Apple Vision Pro,
All right.
obviously. It's basically augmented reality headset. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's literally wearing your phone on your face and you can move apps around like Iron Man in the air. So, of course, everyone's talking about it's pretty cool. I honestly think it's cool, but everyone's talking about concerns with, of course, the battery life sucks, but it's very pricey. It's like $3,500. And then there's concerns with social problems like, oh, will this make human beings detached from the world and all that stuff. And you know,
Right.
it's new. People are scared of it. Makes sense. You could argue that when the phone came out.
We had similar
Yeah.
conversations. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So another thing that came up is I watched this review. There's this Indian British guy who does really good tech reviews and stuff. His name is Mr. Who's the Boss. Love this guy. I love watching his stuff because he's very transparent,
Yeah.
detailed
Mhm.
when he talks about something. It's not like a quick 1 minute of TikTok or YouTube short where a guy for 30 seconds tries out the Apple Vision Pro, like, oh, this is so cool, all that stuff. So one thing that was really cool about it is that whenever he tried to do certain things with the Apple Vision Pro, trying to get information and stuff, if it was not branded by Apple, if it was not supported from Apple, if it wasn't from Apple, they would block him. And so every time like his sister would get a movie from like Amazon, he couldn't watch it on Apple Vision Pro. It would just completely block.
Okay, they had like an RFID chip where it would
And so
ring.
it just only wants Apple. And even
So-
like with the phone, at
Right.
least the iPhone, I could still go on Amazon. I can go to other companies. With the Apple Vision Pro, you're completely confined to Apple. And so the fact that you're wearing this on your head and it's like a fake world, like you see the real world, you're not seeing augmented reality. You're seeing the augmented Apple reality. So
The world according to
the
Apple.
world according to Apple.
Right.
And so
Okay.
if this gets bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where this is in everyone's life and it's like a microchip in someone's brain or glasses that everyone's wearing, everyone's going to be seeing what Apple wants them to see. Or if Apple gets taken over by something else, well then maybe X takes over or something. Elon Musk buys Apple and makes everything X. Well then we're just going to see everything Elon Musk wants us to see. So that I thought was really interesting because no one really addressed that.
Yeah.
No one really talked about that. That's pretty crazy. And I did hear it was heavy. Mr. Who the Boss did say it was heavy. I had a feeling it was heavy. That's why I probably can't wear it. I have like such a small head. But yeah, it's heavy. Probably after a couple hours, it'll probably hurt. But once it gets lighter and stuff, like the battery life and all that, I can imagine using it for movies
Mm-hmm.
at home. But when you start relying on that for everything, like the way I rely on my phone is insane. So I know your generation might not be able to like fully grasp this, but with me, our tech is an appendage. So when you put an append now, our phones are like our appendage right in our face, and our whole reality is determined now by our tech. That's very scary to me
Yeah.
because I know that I'm susceptible to being a victim of that, of being part of Apple's world and being brainwashed by Apple eventually with the Apple Vision Pro. That's why I'm not going to buy it. Not just because it's expensive, but like that's scary. Even though it'd be really cool to have like a 500-inch TV screen in Norway, which you can do that. You can make it set up like you make the setting Norway. You just go around, you'll be like in a forest, and you can make the screen as big as you want, watch whatever movie you want. But then I have a feeling I'm just gonna like hurt my neck. So
Right.
maybe you could lay down and you could just make it go above you, but that is pretty cool. But the fact that you can only see what Apple sees is pretty wild. And
Yeah.
I know with the iPhone right now, at least I can access other applications and stuff. But one day, what if Apple's like, let's do this with all of our tech and limit everything to the point where it's censorship at that point, and it's a strong corporation.
Yeah.
So it is scary. It's like dystopian almost.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So where do you think that's going? You think ultimately it'll get distilled down to something like wearing glasses?
Probably
In the-
that's where they're going with it. Because again, Apple didn't just release this as the end all be all.
Right.
Because they only released it in the USA.
Right. So there's an introductory.
It's like they just want other people to start developing, to get inspired, to maybe join Apple and develop and all that stuff. Steal other people's ideas, whatever. They just want. It's like a teaser trailer. They're saying that this is where everything's gonna go.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna move on from iPhone one day, and everything's gonna be goggles. It'll go from big headset to Speedo goggles to maybe a visor, and then ultimately glasses, and then maybe, hopefully, God forbid, contact lenses, and then maybe a chip in your brain. So,
Wow. Well, what if there was a so what I'm imagining is that you would carry your phone still. It would just be on your person, right? And then you would have maybe like a comm badge, like they do in Star Trek Next Generation. And I could see that. And then maybe
that would be cool.
right,
Yeah, I don't want to wear it like on my skin. Like if it's
Right.
on my shirt, that's cool.
right,
Or like a table that has everything, instead of it being something to take around.
right.
Just one fixed spot. Kind of like Han Solo's little holographic game
Correct,
thing on
right.
the Millennium Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool, but I have a feeling that's not going to make as much money as something you can take everywhere else.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So Apple's more interested in profit, so they're gonna make the contact lenses.
So how many years out you think? I mean, because it's moving pretty quick.
Everything moves quickly. Like people like literally born in the 1880s saw people land on the moon.
Right.
Like imagine going to school on a donkey and then you're like old and you just see someone on the moon. So at this point, it could be 10, 20 years.
Yeah. But in the meantime, you can wear this ginormous headset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't like it, which is a good thing.
Right. So it works by you can actually see the artificial reality, but you have
It's augmented, so it
So
is reality.
you can see your own stuff. You can see what's in front of you as well as what you want to see. Right.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that what if you wear it for so long because the battery life is so advanced, maybe 10 years from now, and you forget that you have it on, and then someone could easily just put something in there, and then you think it's there, but it's not. That's scary. So there's definitely going to be addicts like that, I can imagine. There's
Wow.
already phone addicts. Imagine augmented reality goggle glass addicts. So
Wow.
new type of addict.
Yikes.
Yep.
All right. Something new to worry about.
Oh, and then you know about the people having AI girlfriends and boyfriends. You know what's funny about Apple Vision Pro?
Tell me in
It-
about 20
As
seconds.
soon as the lights go off
Yes.
completely, it disengages.
Oh, good.
I think because it knows that what if someone's doing something that
Good.
they're not
Yucky.
supposed to be doing?
All
Put
right.
the goggles on.
Woo! All right. We got to go. Say goodbye.
Bye.
So how's this latest stock market roller coaster ride treating you? You've worked too long and too hard, scrimping and saving for retirement to have it exposed to this volatility or gobbled up by some retirement spend down scheme. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over